It's Charter Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance in the Central Valley on our road show. We are joined today by Vito Chiesa. He is a supervisor in Stanislaus County. And, sir, I'd like to speak with you about an initiative that will be on the ballot in the fall. It will be legalizing cannabis. And if we look at other states, I think it's fair to say that red, purple, and blue states, they're voting to pass marijuana legalization, and we're kind of blue, and I got to think it's going to pass. What do you think, sir?
I do. Yeah. Always an uncomfortable topic to talk about, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Please.
I think that the polling numbers, I think that the way things are going, yes, I believe that the recreational use of marijuana will pass in November, and I'm trying to prepare for that.
And let's talk about that, because there are some counties in our state that have a bit of a running start only because they have chosen to allow medical marijuana dispensaries. Yeah. As you know, in Riverside City, they sued to prevent medical marijuana dispensaries from operating, went all the way to the California Supreme Court, who ruled 7-0 that as a matter of land use, you can ban medical marijuana dispensaries. What has happened in Stanislaus County on that front since Prop 215 passed in 1996?
Okay, right now, currently in Stanislaus County, all 9 cities in the county have banned dispensaries and growing other than the, I think, some indoor plants. I think
for very, very personal use.
For very personal use.
Right.
And it was done with a forward-looking, everyone banned it, as we're trying to go down 2 tracks, both the medical marijuana, the Compassionate Use Act, and as well as potentially the recreational use. And we're trying to get some regulations together to try and see if we can do something county-wide.
And let's talk about that because, look, it's coming, and we know that even aside from the potential legalization, there were these regulations that need to be passed locally or the state's going to come in, just on the medical marijuana side. So I understand that you're going to be speaking with your fellow supervisors with the 9 cities to try to figure out what path to take. The question is, if you wanted to, could you ban the sale of legalized marijuana? And I'm thinking about that California Supreme Court case that says you could ban the sale of medical marijuana.
Yes, you could. You have an opt-out provision, and I know that the CSAC and the League of Cities had fought to put that language in.
Of which you were president last year.
I was president,
right?
Yeah. But I can tell you that if we were to do a total ban, it's not going to stop them from setting up outside of our county.
And let's talk about that.
Yes. Well, but there will be impacts to this county associated with recreational use marijuana. I'm sure as the day is long. So here's the opportunity to potentially create a revenue source to try and deal with those impacts. And looking regionally is probably better, but just trying to keep the 9 cities in the county together will be difficult
and
enough.
I do want to ask about that because your county is very close geographically to other counties, Merced, San Joaquin, and so you can't really tell what county you're in at any moment, and in some places the lines are very thin. And so at this stage, you're just hoping to keep the 90 all together as well as the county?
And then I think it would be an opportunity to talk with the other folks. If you remember, this is not going to take effect if it passes, and this November doesn't take effect for essentially a year. So we have some time to reach out. I would tell you that a taxing authority is something that's really important
for local taxing.
So we talk about zoning, if we can do one zoning countywide, if we can have a police presence that maybe is a consortium of different police departments and the county sheriff.
I want to ask you about cultivation, though, because, look, Stanislaus County makes a lot of money from agriculture. Almonds and dairy, and we can go on, tomatoes. I mean, it's a big ag county, and so I'm not sure about the soil, if it would be appropriate for cannabis growth, but I would presume. And so have you thought about whether you want to permit cultivation?
Yeah. I've thought about it, but I'm trying to, indoor versus outdoor, how many square feet, what's the taxing on a per plant. The state in AMPA, the Adult Use Marijuana Act, has some growing side. There's a tax on the growing side. So I'm trying to figure that out. There are some other cities and a couple of counties that are going in June election. I'm going to kind of try and take the best of their ideas. And, and I have to say that I am not for recreational use marijuana myself personally, because I think it's so available on the medical side. I do have compassion for it, the Compassionate Use Act. But if it comes, I own it. I'm a pragmatic person, and I'm going to move forward.
The law.
Yeah, it is what it is.
In terms of cannabis growth, though, I understand that marijuana plants are pretty thirsty. And so I'm wondering, how does that play into the calculation? Now we're not even talking about what it's used for. I mean, look, it's been a good year in terms of water in the Central Valley, but we may not have a good year last year. We didn't have the last 4 years. So will that be part of the discussion about how much water marijuana plants need? Am I getting ahead of you?
No, I think that's way ahead of me. We have in Stanislaus County, we have 3 irrigation districts on the east side and quite a few on the west side. And, they've done a good job of preparing, and the farmers put in Don Pedro. There's New Maloney's, which is a federal project.
I think Turlock City is about to break ground on a new facility.
On a surface water treatment. So there's a lot of good things going, and I'm so far ahead of this, and it takes so much of my headspace. I think we talked about this a little bit. I think about this way too much, and I'm used to talking about jails and probation and libraries, and now I'm talking about water, big ticket marijuana, and it's tough because I'm not an expert in these, and they expect me to be.
That's the great thing about being a supervisor is you get to really learn so much about so many aspects.
You're saying that from over there.
No, I hear you. But another area that I know that you're having to focus on now are roads. And our friends in Sacramento have been in special session to look at the transportation funding crisis, and our friends in Sacramento haven't done much on the transportation funding crisis. And so what a lot of counties are doing is they are looking to see whether they will go to their voters and ask them to pass a dedicated tax to improve the local roads in the county. Some already have it, others don't. Does Stanislaus County have its own sales tax for transportation yet?
They do not, but this November we're planning to go out for a self-help, and we are very close to making that decision. We have to make that decision next month to get it on the November ballot. I will tell you, the ability for us to fix our roads with the current strategy, because they're dropping the gas tax 6 cents, the Board of Equalization, they're recommending another 2 cents next year. So our roads in the Stanislaus County they were rated at 55 last year. They're down in the 40s this year. So 1 to 100, to catch back up, it's going to take state and local help. But if you do not have the matching component to try and leverage that money, we're essentially sending our tax dollars out of Stanislaus County. And San Joaquin's winning that, and Fresno's
let's explain that for our viewers. Under state formulas, if a county passes its own sales tax and dedicates it to transportation, there are those matching dollars.
There's matching
from
dollars.
Sacramento. Is it from D.C. as well? Do you know?
No.
It's mostly from Sacramento.
Yeah, most of it's from Sacramento. And the vast majority of the population of California is covered under self-help in the larger counties. We're the 3rd largest who doesn't have it. There's Ventura, Kern.
And Ventura, I know, is considering as well.
Yeah.
I want to get a sense, though, about the mood of the voters. I think you need 2/3, correct?
2/3.
We will have the Prop 30 extension on the ballot. So this could be a second taxing measure. I'm not sure if any of your 9 cities will have taxing measures, bond measures. Are you a little nervous about that 2/3 threshold?
To get over the 2/3 threshold, everything has to be in your favor. I will tell you that I am committed, and for the first time ever, the 9 cities in the county voted unanimously to put this forward.
And all 5 of you on the board?
To this point, yes.
Okay.
And we all sit on Stancock. This is how important we think it is. You're talking about, nobody wants to tax, nobody wants to move forward this way, but the leveraging component is so compelling when you can tax yourself $1 and get $1.30 in return, $1.40, $1.50, even if it's $1.05. Is a compelling argument because we're sending our tax dollars to other counties who currently have self-help.
But how do we spread that message in a county that is
fairly
moderate to conservative?
Yeah, we missed by 450 votes out of 150,000 votes in 2008. We got 66.43%. We needed 66.67. So the people understand I've got to do a better job. The electeds have to do a better job of getting out there and explaining, because people typically think that government is wasting dollars, and that's not necessarily the case. We're very good stewards. I think that in Stanislaus County, I think all the cities, everyone is very good stewards of the money. We just have to convince people that there is a positive aspect to this. And
his name is Vito Chiesa. He is a supervisor in Stanislaus County. That's where we are today. My name is Brad Pomerance, Charter Local Edition.